You're listening to WLPN-LP Chicago, 105.5 FM, Lumpen Radio, Bridgeport. It's February 15th, 2018, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we said, to never be heard, seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said, to never be heard, seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said, to never be heard, seen from again.
Must be a special show. Get the extended intro cut, the B-side. Welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you, as always, from Studio B here at the Co-Prosperity Sphere. Thanks, as always, to Lumpen Radio for having us on, and thanks especially to the fearless leader of Lumpen Radio, Logan Bay, and all the somewhat fearless leaders at Lumpen Radio, such as producer Jamie and the rest. We've got a special guest slash producer in DJ Matarata.
What's going on, Chris?
How are you, dude? Thanks for stepping in and doing double duty.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I am welcome. And I want to thank everyone out there for listening via the airwaves, 105.5 FM on Lumpen Radio, or if you're using one of the apps, one of those streaming apps the kids use these days, such as TuneIn Radio, big with the kids, streaming terrestrial radio online, I hear. It's the next big thing with young kids. Anyway, thanks kiddos. When you're 21, this show's going to come in handy. You're going to learn all you need to know about the craft beer business, which is what you're probably really interested in. But anyway, I want to thank everyone who is listening live. If you're listening live, you should hop into the chat room. It's tlk.io/WLPN, not TALK. It's TLK. And I want to thank those of you who are listening via podcast, download, all that stuff as well. We always appreciate you guys and leaving your very nice comments and reviews. If I remember, maybe we'll read a review. Haven't done that in a year or so. So maybe we'll get to that. For those of you who are new to the show, I like to kind of mention at the top what the show's all about. Basically, the goal of the show is to open up a window about how the people making, selling, marketing, and facilitating the beer, getting into your glass, feel about the topics that are a part of their everyday lives. Many of my greatest beer experiences have been talking about beer while sharing beers with people whose opinions I respect and admire, and it's these experiences that I hope to capture. Sorry, I was startled. Took the words right out of my mouth when I saw DJ Matarata's novelty tea, his novelty coconut porter tea, which is awesome. One of two, I believe. I think
two produced in the world ever.
I think I own the other. But anyway, thanks, and I do want to mention that all the guests on the show, they may have opinions, and if they do, their opinions are their own and nobody else's. Certainly not Lumpen Radio's or the Beer Temple. And we normally go in order of seniority. Well, yeah, I think we still can go in order of seniority because Matt, You're first. So, can
Am
you
I?
do both?
Are you sure?
Can you do an intro? I think you are probably. Yeah. Ed hasn't crashed yet.
Okay.
So,
I mean, Kate's coming up too.
Kate's getting up there.
No, I think it's still you.
Well, hi, I am Matt Arata, and I host Beer Download at 4 p.m. on Saturdays right here on Lumpen Radio.
Wow. See, that's professional.
And we on Beer Download we do tournament style head-to-heads typically, and right now we're in the middle of the Craft versus Crafty tournament.
Oh.
Where each week, and we've been trying to do it blind, which is awesome for radio. Doing a blind tasting on the radio.
Yeah.
Tasting beers and talking about them on the radio is difficult enough, but doing it at blind is even more difficult. But you know, that's what we're doing, and
Cool.
I would say it's about 50-50 right now. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the crafts versus the crafties. Which ones win out each round?
Which crafties have won?
Well, Steve also tends to try to trick me a lot. So this past
Your
week,
co-host,
yeah,
Steve,
my co-host Steve Masney. This week he brought in the Surf Stout from Off Color, and he brought in an older Goose Island Sophie from like 2015. And I thought that there's no way that a crafty, one of the big macros, you know, making or owning, you know, former
Right.
independent breweries is making something quite as flavorful as that Sophie. So I thought that one was the craft one, and I also chose that one over the Off Color Surf Stout, which is a good beer.
Sure.
It's just it's very
Haven't
it's a
had it.
low
Just
alcohol,
not as
and
good
it's,
as a
Just
Goose
don't
Island.
it's
Island.
it's lighter in its flavor profile and
Yeah.
everything. So I was just like, this one,
Didn't Sophie win your like overall bracket the first time?
It did. It did.
Favorite?
it did. It won the first tournament that took
A
5
rare
years.
occurrence of somebody crashing the show before Ed gets a chance to crash the show. So there you go, Ed. Gauntlet thrown. Well, thanks for coming on and doing double duty, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. My next scheduled guest is Kate Tronica, depending on where you're from, and or Kate Branken, as she's
Good
also
evening,
known.
Chris. Hello.
How are you?
Good.
What's
How
up?
are you doing today?
Good. Is that Kate
Fabulous.
Tronica or Kate Tronic who talks like that?
This is just the real me.
Oh,
This is who I really am. Very poised.
I'm glad that
And
you
I
feel
enunciate.
comfortable enough to be so proper.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I'm very relaxed here, of course.
Normally, you're so uptight and talk so
So much.
yeah, so much and also just so casually that the real you comes out. You let your hair down
Very
and
stressful talking so casually for so long, really.
That's
It's
great.
Quite the stress.
well, what's new with you? Why are you so comfortable all of a sudden?
Well, it might be because I'm just eating yeast slurry today.
Oh, you're a little loopy, maybe.
Yes.
Is that a beverage or is that a
No,
meal
it's a,
or
it's a
Like a yeast
packet
Slurpee
it's a packet of 500 grams of
of dried yeast?
That's the largest pack of USO5 I've seen in my life.
USO5.
Oh,
Yes.
The cleanest yeast.
Yes. I'll explain all that later at some point, probably when.
oh, are you uptight all of a sudden?
Yes.
Oh,
No, this is my relaxed again. This
Oh.
is me being relaxed.
oh, okay, good. It's funny. I'll be able to tell if something's wrong or if you're truly
Yeah.
truly
if I start
relaxed.
just kind of talking normally.
Just talking like-
or talking like this. Yeah.
Right. Then
that's
I'm
the
like,
funny
oh
one.
my goodness,
Yeah.
Kate is not having a good time.
No.
I better get her back into
Please.
that really prim and proper pronunciation. Well, thanks for coming on and
Yeah,
bringing
no
your
problem.
yeast slurry.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike's-
So is that thing? So it's like it looks almost like a.
no, you know what? I don't know why I'm being vague. It's because
I was gonna say it looks like for people out there. It looks like a packet of coffee.
it's just a shrink wrap.
That you would get like a shrink wrapped like foil.
It's the
thing.
Sam Adams Jim Cook method of not becoming intoxicated. So he would drink yeast or dried yeast packets. This is something I learned.
heard about that.
Yes, someone named Ryan Middleton told me about this, and it is.
Are you really gonna try it tonight?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna drink a lot and see if you get not drunk?
I mean, I'm not that Hunter S. Thompson, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. What you should do is just straight up Capri Sun it and just like stick the straw right into that packet of yeast and just
Well, it's dry, so it's going to be kind of like the cinnamon challenge mixed with.
That would be amazing.
This is all really good radio.
Kate, what do you think?
The particles will just be
Just
hitting the
all
microphone. It's a
over
good thing
the-
there's a screen here. Yeah.
All over the place, just dried
Sure.
yeast everywhere.
Yep. Yep.
That'll make
I
for
did spill a
for
little
good
bit
radio.
already, actually.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks for coming,
Yeah, no
and
problem.
thanks for
Thanks for
making
having me.
this place, the venue for your experimentations.
Sure. Yes.
Have you ever done this before?
No, I've never.
Okay.
No.
I guess my next question is this the proper amount of yeast you need to take to not be
I
intoxicated?
don't think so. I think this is a little over the top. But
Right.
that's my middle name.
Well, if a billionaire brewery owner does it, it must be legit, is what I say.
Yeah.
So,
It seems like he knows what he's doing.
yeah. My next guest is Mr. Steven Freshnock of the Beer Temple and Beer Breakdown and all sorts of stuff. What's new with you, man?
Not much, man. I think I've been at the Beer Temple all the time, so that's pretty much been my life for the past couple weeks.
Yes, that's true.
Months.
Yeah. Steven is heading up the tap room side of things and other stuff at the Beer Temple these days. So he's been you've been busy learning what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
essentially.
I'm just busy like making mistakes and correcting mistakes and learning. It's how you
Yeah.
learn.
Wait, you've made mistakes. How come I haven't heard about this?
None
We'll
that
talk
you know
about this.
of.
We'll talk about this off air.
Also, chatting with Mike in the chat room, in the same room, which is kind of cool.
Be careful. Yeah, it's too hard to split things. My
going
first
on
unannounced guest, who you'll probably hear in the background jumping on. You can sit up here. I mean, I set these out here because I knew that you and Ed were eventually going to crash the party. You may not have headphones for now, but that never stopped Ed, so maybe it won't stop you. But we've got. You're Buster Shalal, right?
I'm whatever you choose that week for me to be.
Buster Strong. No, you're Buster Strong.
Buster Strong, yeah, that's it.
Buster Strong.
Buster Strong.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm
Good.
doing really well.
We ran into I ran into someone who said he kicked a home invader out of your apartment one time.
That's
a couple
true.
days
He
ago,
actually did, yeah.
and
know
had
that guy's
and
name,
refrained
but-
from throwing him down a flight of steps after
Yeah.
the guy tried to start a fight with him.
Yep, yeah.
Learning
yeah.
a little thing. At first, he was saying like, yeah, somebody was in an apartment, like stealing things and stuff like that, and then he's like, and he worked for Pipeworks, and he was getting
I
the
wasn't
story
stealing things.
right. Well, he was getting the story a little bit mixed up in his telling of it, and I thought it was like I was getting some really juicy tidbits about you. I was like, oh my gosh, Mike was drunk stealing out of somebody's
Yeah, and
that he doesn't know's apartment.
Out, I said where I worked so that everyone knew.
Well, I thought it might have been like someone else was like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah. No, it's like a neighbor of mine who lives in my building. And this is like one of those stories like nothing good happens after like, what is it, 2 a.m., 4 a.m.? I don't know. It was like 5 a.m. one
Nothing good
morning.
happens after 2, but after 4, good things start to happen
yeah,
again.
yeah, it comes back around. If you had slept. But no, we're just,
Yeah.
there's a sign that has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
entered the...
Yeah, I know.
the
You didn't go
building.
there, did you? Get out of here. Get out
I
of here.
think
Station
Jamie
manager
went to
Jamie
Providence.
And he's
Harris
wearing all
hates
black.
Villanova.
He's wearing Providence colors, too.
Did Providence beat Villanova?
76-71.
76-71. It seems Providence has beaten Villanova in basketball, huh?
Yeah,
What is this?
yesterday.
Are you a Villanova fan?
What were you talking about?
Oh, how my home got invaded.
Yeah.
Someone broke into my home, didn't steal anything, did break my
Sounds
rubber
like
tree plant.
What Providence did to Villanova today. Was that what happened? Is that what
Terrible
I'm-
sex.
No, it wasn't today.
I don't care.
It was
about any of this.
yesterday. Villanova has a very depleted team. They've got 2 starters who are injured.
This is amazing.
Villanova dropping out of the top 5.
Yes, very much so. They will be. out of
Because
the top
Providence
5.
beat them.
Because they've lost to 2 not that great teams in a
2
row.
unranked teams? Or 2?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
deservedly
a really bad
unranked
season
team.
for Villanova. Villanova is usually good at basketball, right?
Yeah, they were ranked number 1 in the country, but then they had
So that's not...
one guy got a concussion, another guy broke his hand, 2 starters. So
And they weren't...
and
good
they've
enough
got
to
a third
overcome that.
guy
So now they're losing to unranked teams because of 2 starters going down?
and a third guy. Their 7th man also got injured. So
They're
they're
7th man.
yeah. So now they're down. They had an 8-person roster, and now they basically have a 5-person roster, and are bringing in people they were going to redshirt to play. And
So
I don't have like
messed
a
up.
fight song or anything to play.
So Jay Wright is not psyched right now.
he'll be fine. They'll be fine.
He'll be fine. He's a consummate professional.
We'll see. Let's just wait till the Big East tournament.
I mean, the point
Big
is that
shot.
Providence has bested Villanova.
Yeah, it happens.
So you only get to be happy about the Eagles for about a couple of weeks, and now
And that's the thing. When big target on your back when you're
it's the life
ranked
of
high.
a Philadelphia fan, though.
Anyway, you
This
were
is a
talking
sports
about
podcast, right?
anyway, you were drunk, you were stealing from somebody's apartment.
Yeah, I was wasted robbing myself. Someone had broken into my apartment, had broken my rubber tree plant, and was drinking one of my bottles of whiskey. And then I just made
Just
this
chilling
new
on the
friend
couch?
who was like a 6 foot. He was just standing there. But he was like this 6
Big
foot.
guy.
Yeah.
At least 6 foot.
He's probably like 6'3", like 280 pounds. But
Big
the
dude.
story, he didn't actually throw the guy out of my apartment. I threw the guy out of my apartment, and then he tried to get back in, and that guy blocked the door.
Yeah.
So he was cool. He was like I think he's a bouncer as his profession, and I think he has some anger adjacent.
He seemed
He seems to be anger adjacent often.
he seemed very nice.
He's very nice to me, but I didn't do anything to upset him. So
I wouldn't want to get that guy angry. Anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, I was a little bit relieved, but also a little bit let down that it wasn't you who had randomly broken into a stranger's apartment and was
Yeah.
stealing stuff.
If I'm breaking into a stranger's apartment, you're probably breaking into that stranger's apartment with me. So I think we keep all those stories secret.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. So see you guys next week. No, we've talked about what? We've talked about basketball. We've talked about drunk people in Buster's or Dusty's Buster. No, it's Buster Capron.
Pre-gaming
It's
yeast
Dusty Strong. Sorry. Dusty Strong's house. So let's get right to it. Has there been any beers that any of you guys have been excited about lately? I have a feeling there's probably a few this week that you are excited to try or that you've had lately that you've been digging on. Anybody want to go? Anyone want to go first? What's up, Fresh?
Had the Omnipolar gosh, can I speak? Omnipolar Polo and Mikkeller Prince and Popper. It was a dry hop grisette, and it was
Was it good?
fantastic. Yes.
Nice.
I'm excited. We just got a bunch of Green King casks in, which there'll be some nice English cask ale from England finally on the cask engine, which will be awesome.
Very
Stoked for
cool.
that.
And then you brought in some Bluebird Bitter.
Yeah.
So that's always nice when that comes around. I think you and I are maybe the last two people on earth who get excited about English.
Yeah, I was really
Traditional
excited to
low
tap
alcohol English beer.
unfiltered DBA the other night too. That made my night. So yeah.
Very cool. Anyone else got any beers that they're excited about?
Well,
You don't need to be so nervous about telling what beer you like.
no, just moving the mic. I was just.
Oh, I know. I was just saying from the way you're talking.
Oh, right. Yes, here
There
we
you
are.
go.
That bit I set up.
And now I will not let you. No, I'm kidding.
Gabe from the brewery brought in some beers from Perennial, and for some reason another beer from Perennial showed up today. So the Corral de Sang from Perennial, Corral de Sang. What do we? I don't know. It was good. Yeah, and I was kind of I haven't had any of their beers in a long time, and I was reminded of what excellent beverages they make. They're quite nice. Very good.
A
Good
beer that you
things.
had been excited about. Can I blow? I don't want to blow up your spot. What about
Blow it
the
up,
Black
Chris.
Panther beer?
Oh
Panther
yeah,
like a
yes.
panther.
We brought some of that. It's
Ah.
really good. Yeah, Mike and I can probably both talk about that.
Okay. Do you not want to wear the headphones?
Oh,
Or
I can. No, I can put the headphones back on.
You can
You don't
do
have
whatever
to.
you want.
What?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Well, to be honest, I couldn't hear what was happening because I couldn't hear myself. So then yes, that beer. It's very good. It's a porter, about little over 7% ABV, blended back with about 30% barrel aged porter. We wanted something that was dry, not overly sweet, still kind of had a whiskey or bourbon notes to it. And we were very happy with how it came out. It's balanced and good, and they're into it, and we're into it, and it's part of a 3 brewery release. So it's going to be
as
fun.
official part of like the
Yes.
the
So
beer.
there's
the movie. I mean.
Yes. It's about a song that was incorporated into the soundtrack and some promotional trailers and stuff like that.
Are you guys going to be in the credits?
We are credited as the stars
Nice.
of the movie. Yes.
Does it say what name does it give you? What Mike, are you credited or is Pipeworks credited?
No.
Starring Pipeworks
It just
Brewing
says yes. It just says starring Kate and Mike
Introducing Kate
as themselves.
as ourselves.
As themselves.
Yeah. As not in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congrats. Congrats.
It'll be
So
cool.
I'll set up your IMDb page and we'll get that going.
Mike's on it. He's doing it right now.
Matt, anything for you that you've had lately that you've liked?
I had an occasion to sample a beer from Afterthought, which is
Yes.
apparently really newish. They took over the old Flesk space in Lombard, which
nice.
is
Oh.
like it's a very small system because they were very small when they were in there, and they are apparently producing only saisons or anything that might be labeled a
Wow.
saison.
That's interesting. Are they doing free rise fermentation, or are they? Do you know?
I believe you're at the limit of my knowledge.
Okay, got it.
Other than the first one that I sampled was pretty good for
Cool.
a brand new, very small batch brewery, and
That's awesome.
apparently they're selling.
When you
to-
say free rise, you mean no temperature control, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, some Tired Hands is one that have done a lot of saisons with free rise fermentation, so their tanks are not wrapped with glycol, so they don't really temp control it. It's kind of, Jester King does that too.
I think that they have like temp controlled
Got it.
fermenters there.
Okay.
I mean, they're small ones, I think.
Sure.
But
That sounds cool.
it's been a
Sounds
couple
awesome.
years since I've been there.
I want
To
to try that.
Flesk.
Flesk moved to Barrington, and now they're just a brew pub, I think. So they're not bottling anything these days. But yeah, this Afterthought, I'm excited to see more from them if I can get into their super secret club. Apparently,
Whoa.
that's really all they're selling to is their own little club that they had.
Ah.
That's why they're good, because no one can get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard about those breweries. Well, cool. For me, anything I've had lately that I've really liked or that, you know what's good? The Firestone Walker Lager. It's just called Lager. It's very good. I liked it quite a bit.
Is it new?
Yes. It's
You know-
rather new. Another new beer that I've had that I thought was good has been I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm
You know what's
terrible.
also good is this yeast slurry I'm drinking.
Yeah. Are you sure?
This
Snorting.
quality yeast
Yeah,
slurry. I've
why are
mixed
you
a little bit
snorting
in a
it?
water bottle and
Okay.
it just goes down
The
You've been
haziest.
concocting
really
it now.
easy. It's quite hazy.
She's neti potting it.
It's delicious and nutritious and
Neti potting
Doesn't
yeast
help
slurry, I guess, is a thing.
Sure.
Here, mate, can you hand that glass over to Mr. Shallout? Yo, not cool. Take that off for real. Come on. Logan would be very angry about that. Nothing, Logan. Don't worry. Nothing in here. Certainly no glass from a long-time guests on the console. I promise.
should know better, Mike.
Yeah. So let's get right into it and go to a break. Let's take about 90 seconds or so. You ready for that, Mr. Arata? No.
I gotta sit there.
You got to sit here. So let's. So what's gonna happen in a few minutes, maybe 30 seconds, depending on how good a producer this guy is you're gonna hear about some of the other programs that are here on WLPN. There are a lot of other great shows. It's not just beer shows. It's certain show or a whole bunch of shows about people who are passionate about different stuff, music or topics or anything. And we're ready to go. So listen to what WLPN has to offer, and then we'll be back very shortly with more of the Insiders Roundtable.
Do you like the goodest kinds of music? Well, of course you do. That's country music, of course. Songs about love, heartache, murder. And on that subject, it would just kill me if you didn't go to lumpenradio.com and sign up to be a member today. Lumpen Radio needs co-conspirators, and you seem like the helpful type. Super easy. Go to lumpenradio.com, choose your tier, and get great rewards. You even get to meet Lumpen DJs at our events. I love meeting other music fans. Besides, I can always use a fresh set of prints on some things I got lying around. So head on over to lumpinradio.com and become a member today. And tell them Lawrence sent you with a bullet.
Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn. I am joined by my guests, Matt Arata, Kate Rankin, and, well, Matt Arata, and Stephen Freshneck. And
say my name again, Chris.
Matt Arata is just left the room, and it's just me. And also Mike Strong is here, too. So, yeah, so I was about to let people know that we were on air live, but don't have time, so we're just going to get right into the first topic, which is the Stone thing. I am actually a little interested in this. So Stone Brewing is suing or filed a lawsuit against Miller Coors over the Stone trademark, saying that Keystone beer, I don't know if it's just Keystone Light or Keystone overall, is infringing on their trademark. And, they, because it is Stone, put out a video about it with Greg Cook, talking about how big beer sucks and taking some shots at them and holding up the can and everything like that. And it's funny, most of the, social media is definitely an echo chamber, and the echoes I am seeing are very anti-Stone. Maybe those are just the people I follow. It's all about how, marketing campaign, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about it, if anything, because, I'll give my opinions. I tend to do it, but I would like to hear somebody else's opinion first for once. So, anyone? What do you think, Kate? I
think it's great. I mean, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
What is a good idea?
For them to make the video, for them to make it a big to-do, it's kind of a thing, sending cease and desists and, about trademark protection. They definitely have to protect their trademark. That's something that they have to do, so they should.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
First of all, I am not a lawyer. I know this is shocking.
Well, when you came, never mind. Okay.
I know you introduced me that way, and that's why I was invited here. But I'm also not a doctor or a zoologist or a lot of other things. But
you just talk like one.
Yes. They have to protect their trademark if they want to keep it. Does anyone else have any other insight into this? I mean,
that's pretty much the basic way.
Yeah.
If you obtain a trademark, you have to protect it.
Exactly. So they have to protect it, and for them to make this video and for them to make it sort of a big deal, they should. It's kind of a thing now to make cease and desists a bit of a marketing ploy. Adweek recently covered Netflix sending the Chicago Emporium Bar a cease and desist about their usage of Stranger Things.
Right, for their pop-up, yeah.
It was very cute, very tongue-in-cheek. So it's not just Stone Brewing Company. It's not just, little guys going after big beer. It's kind of a thing now. So they might as well do it. I thought they did a good job. They covered all the bases. And it's also a way to sway public interest. It's been done before where other breweries have sent cease and desists to smaller and larger breweries, and sometimes it makes them look bad, and then they drop the claims. Lagunitas did that. Tony McGee dropped his. So this way it kind of positions them as less of a big craft brewer, borderline, similarly aligned with a larger macro beer that would be bought out, and kind of realigns them with the underdogs. So I think it's a successful video.
And I tend to think that there is a legitimate, case for consumer confusion. The cans say...
Did we say who they're going after?
Keystone. Yeah, they're going after Keystone,
which is a Miller Coors product?
Yes, and the cans, the Keystone, the new ones, say essentially on the side, Stone Light. and it says giant, like the entire width. If if you're holding a can sideways from the entire width of the can,
If you were
it says
gripping
stone.
the can, you would only see the stone.
Yeah, the entire way.
If you have the can faced on a shelf,
Exactly.
probably only seeing the stone.
Exactly.
Right. And also showing that people on social media are referring to it as stone. There was a picture of a woman who was crocheting, and it says, stone, sweet stone, and then a little picture of a Keystone Light can. So it is beer. It does say stone. People are calling them stone because that's what they're emphasizing through their marketing. So I tend to think it's legit.
Can you get an 18-pack of stones?
I have never heard of Keystone referred to as a stone
Really?
before.
We did that. I did that.
You
I
did?
did do that. Yeah.
Did you do it because they did it?
Because
they called themselves that?
No, because it was Champagne Urbana beer pong. I don't know.
Throw me a
Yeah.
stone?
Yes, I mean, it was.
Throw me a
it
stone
was,
and I'll
it
chug
was
it.
not cool. I mean, it was. I've heard it before, I guess. But I think what's important is that they have Miller Coors has tried to also file a trademark for stones relative to the Keystone brand, and they were denied. So that's
And
another.
I think that was a good 10 years ago or
Yeah.
so when they were trying that, from what I've read.
Yeah. So he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, keeping them off of this, and they're just going to try to do it.
I think
again.
the video is not super great.
Why don't you think it's good?
Well, just the video itself, they could do. It's fine that they did a video.
Sure.
The video itself is just, I don't know.
I mean, it looks like he set up a camera or somebody set up a camera in front of him, and he just kind of.
He talked for an hour
There's
and then they cut it down for
multi-cameras.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's totally fine that they get out in front of it, and you don't really have to do a whole lot else. Like, you don't have to keep hammering the issue after this one video. I don't think. I mean, you let the lawsuit play out over the next 1 to 5 years or however long it might take, and I mean, I think it's better to get out in front of what you're doing in this particular method in this industry and in this style of competing with other folks in the market.
Absolutely. And I think the video and actually the poor quality is a way for them to control the narrative even further. The fact that it's a single, it starts off as a single camera and then kind of pans maybe to one other, and it doesn't look like he dressed up for it. It's not flashy. It's outside. It's natural light. It's against some stone walls. I think it is good to position them in the overall narrative of small guys versus macro, which is important to garner public opinion and favor in this endeavor.
Right.
I think backlash against Stone for doing this is not called for.
Exactly.
What
Which
are
is
people
funny.
saying? I don't know. I haven't.
I mean, they're
been seeing too
calling
much.
it a marketing campaign.
Sure.
And that it's a marketing campaign first, and that they found a reason to kind of use this as a marketing campaign, and that the lawsuit was kind of secondary to the marketing campaign.
I would say that they have to, like I said, they have to protect their trademark. So they probably had to send this cease and desist anyways. So they might as well make it a thing. I mean,
Right.
why
Take
not?
advantage of an opportunity at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly. And if it is a marketing campaign, I mean, that's the spin that Miller Coors has put on it.
Right.
Is that this is just a marketing ploy, a clever marketing tactic, which it is. And
Are they saying that into a mirror?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is a clever marketing tactic.
We should do this. We should
Definitely
do
try to
this again.
co-opt their
I
brand.
wonder if we should send a cease and desist to Stone Brewery
Yeah.
and make our video. That would be funny. Yeah, that would be funny. They should do that. Yeah, that would be very funny.
Yeah. So anything? No. Yeah, and I think that if someone was mentioning to me that if it is, being used as a marketing, for marketing reasons as well, that, hey, they're probably putting some money into this lawsuit, and might be a good way to offset some of the costs if they can kind of get an temporary uptick in sales as a result of this.
Yeah, I mean, if you think they're doing this strictly for marketing, that's absurd because it's much more expensive to to potentially go into litigation if they want to go into some litigation with someone like Miller Coors or whoever owns that Keystone brand than it is just spend that money marketing your brand. So there's no way it is marketing first, lawsuit second. It's definitely defending their mark first, and then making the best out of a situation where they have to spend that money anyway.
Yeah. I
Also, like the production value of this is such that like they did not spend much money on making the video to do it. So like they're not spending much money marketing it. They're actually doing the lawsuit and then saying, "Hey, we're doing this," and like people are going to ask questions about what's going on anyway. So hey, here we are. Here's what's going on, and we're going to try to explain it up front.
I also think it's interesting that he brings up the problems of obfuscation that's going on within the market with ABI
overall
acquired
yeah.
brands and craft beers, and he really distinguishes that or the difference between those two.
He being Greg Cook, the
Yes.
founder of Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that we've obviously talked about on the show. Just general, usurping. What I forget. What does he describe it as? Usurping, or he doesn't say usurping, but taking. Content or not content, just like the I don't know, usurping to put to use an Edward, usurping cultural capital from Stone Brewery. Now, I don't think that it was probably Miller Coors trying to edge in on Stone Brewery's image. I don't think that's the case. I mean that's what they actually think. It's a little arrogant. But I do think that it is important that we make if it is important to buyers, if it is important to consumers, whether or not they're purchasing independent and craft companies, that they should be aware of what they're purchasing. But it's also important to know that Stone has also sold portions of their company to private investment firms. So they themselves are not a completely small and, I'm just a guy wearing a wrinkled button-up shirt sitting against
scraggly hair and a beard.
I haven't showered, and I'm just holding this can, and I'm just me and my company.
I'm just a guy.
It's just been a couple years, me and my buddy doing this. Here we are, high-fiving, jumping into the air, and
keep going.
now we're
No,
being
backstory.
sued.
Yeah, but you also remember like Miller Coors is $100 billion company. So saying, "Oh, they're a big craft brewery" is like saying, "Oh yeah, they're a big like."
Nat.
Yeah, it's a totally like. There's not like they're big, but they're not as big as the thing they're going up against. So.
Yeah.
And I was just a little also surprised that people. A lot of them were, I think, beer bloggers, beer writers, beer journalists, beer stuff like that. And I was just surprised that was kind of the tact that I saw being
weird.
hit. So yeah,
So cynical.
And like I said, it very well could be an echo chamber in who I follow on social media and Twitter and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, let me start listing them out.
I think it's probably a response to Stone for so long positioning
Like
themselves
crying wolf kind of.
Well, as the outsider, as like the anti whatever this is, and then now that they're a company that is large enough to have to defend their mark, they're deploying same tactics that a large company has to. And so it's like probably a response to that, being like, oh, you guys were like the anti-fizzy yellow beer. You were like, this is legitimately anti-fizzy yellow beer. But it's like you were anti their tactics, you're anti everything they did. And now because you are a company that is of this size, which is still a small size, you have to behave in a way that these companies behaved. So I think that's probably what it is.
And also, I mean, Stone and Greg Cook in particular have been called out for potential, being a little self-righteous, being maybe overly marketing driven in certain instances, having more kind of, more fluff than actual substance at times. So when they do have something, maybe that is why people immediately think of this.
But they've gone like meta as far as that goes. They have beers called Sublimely Self-Righteous. So they are using that. They've always used that type of thing, the authenticity of it, as their angle. And so, I mean, them being authentic is legitimately authentic in these types of things. I think that people have been seeing it for so long and now they're cynical of it, but I don't doubt that they really believe in all these things. And so it's a backlash against that because so many other places are using that type of marketing now when they weren't before. But for them to change it would be against everything they said they were and everything that I think they actually are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also there's also been that narrative of like, oh, a rising tide lifts all boats, it's not us versus them. Like that dichotomy doesn't really exist. But when it comes down to, hey, this is ours, not yours, that needs to be defended and that needs to be protected. And those lines need to be made clear. And anything that is obfuscation is dangerous to companies, to small business owners, to even larger business owners like Stone. It's not, that general sort of edge on just gets like looser and looser. So I do think it is important for them, even if it is, whatever their motives, I do think that it does have larger ramifications for smaller breweries that are important.
Agreed. Fresh, anything you wanted to add? No.
They are summing it up.
Okay, perfect. On we go. This is something that was not on the outline.
Perfect for hot.
Yeah, perfect for hot takes. Did you? Oh
Nice,
boy!
I've been waiting for this.
Did you guys see the news that came out today
Did
about
not. Bring it. Let's hear it.
She
the
read
Three
no news
Floyds
today.
expansion?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man. So, massive
I didn't actually look
expansion.
at it, though. I just saw that it was happening and was like, of course.
I just honestly,
Yeah.
I just to make sure that the takes were piping hot. Yeah.
We'll take 30 seconds to. There are literally 4 laptops on the table today, which is kind of unusual, I think, for this show.
Right.
But take 30 seconds to find those pictures. It looks like, I would say, a quadrupling of the campus size, maybe something like that, with the amount of buildings, adding an actual parking lot.
So a big expansion for Three Floyds. It looked to me like the only thing I could equate it to on the beer side of things, it looked like Treehouse's campus.
I think it's like a doubling of the actual production space, but the actual build-out space is like quadrupled to like maybe bigger.
Because
than
like
that.
a much larger restaurant, tap room, whatever they want to
Yeah,
call it,
and-
brew pub.
And for the first time, something like actually aesthetic.
Yes.
In front of the
Yes,
brewery
as opposed to just
rather
like
than-
what used to be the office.
Probably.
Sorry.
I don't think you can say that on The Simpsons.
You can definitely say that on The Simpsons.
Okay.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Sorry, Logan. Anyway, yeah, but so it looks like a much more like there's a lot of aesthetic things going on, a lot of like undulating hills.
Little berms.
Yeah, berms, which is does not seem very Floyd's to me, to be honest. Berms are,
Right.
are an anti-Floyd. I think that would be like more of an industrial wasteland
Right.
type.
And
Dismal-
Josh Noel said it
dismal
looks
land
more
style.
of the tech industry than craft brewing, which I totally agree. It looks like a tech campus.
Well, the people who designed it designed like the Dallas Cowboys stadium and like a bunch of things like that, which are like the biggest football stadiums. Like, well, of course there's going to be glass. There's going to be all these things in it. It's not going to look anything like. Once you go to people like that, it's not going to be as tightly held of an aesthetic as they have been for so long. So, it looks really cool. I'm not hating on it at all, but.
They're basically, if people haven't seen the pictures, they're basically taking over all of that open space to the west of the of what they currently have, which is, I guess, just a big grass field or something. I'm not sure what it ever was in the past, but and I think that's kind of like going to be the main production space. At least that's where they have fermenters laid out and stuff like that. And then the existing area and a little bit to the south of the existing area, I think, is new retail / restaurant something space. There's not really any details to go off of other than a general mock-up,
A
picture
koi
mock-up.
pond?
Is there a
Pond,
fountain?
Heavy metal koi pond.
yeah.
Place for you to, yeah.
Like a picnic grove, I would call all
sure.
that green space.
Well, it looks beautiful, more power to them. It is, it doesn't really look like their aesthetic in the past or what that aesthetic has been.
Yeah. I would have loved to
But
have been
What
like,
would that have been? Like you walk into a dungeon and...
or like Thunderdome, like have it be
sure.
like
Oh, yeah.
There's a
Disney
lot
World
of glass and
meets.
rebar here, so maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it just doesn't look as metal as it actually is.
I'm sure it'll be plenty metal once it's less of a rendering and more...
Metal.
once the metal is brought into play.
There are hardly any details on what size of an expansion this is other than just the images. Do we think that this is a good time for Three Floyds to be
Yeah, that was kind
doing
of one
this?
Of the
That
things.
was my kind of
I think
question.
it's long
Is
overdue.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
well
but
for them?
too-
Okay,
too
so
long
two
overdue?
questions for them: should they be doing it, or should anybody else be doing it that might otherwise be located
I mean,
there?
has anybody made that destination level brewery in Chicago yet? I mean, Half Acre kind of has.
Not
Yeah.
like
Not,
this.
but not like
Nothing
this. Not like
this.
Surly or not like Boulevard, where it's a place where you can go, you can drink, you can have an amazing meal, and it's like a
Or Stone has one.
Stone
in
has
San
one. Yeah,
Diego,
they're the
yeah.
ones, the originators of that.
Wait, Stone or Keystone?
You know what? Having
we-
been there, I don't know which one it was. Honestly,
Sorry, go. I just.
bitten it up.
I mean,
Getting
the
bitty.
closest maybe that comes to it is Two Brothers' Roundhouse location, but they don't actually brew there.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of a destination, but not
But
quite like this.
Yeah. No, this would be pretty unique to the area.
Well, I don't think you see a lot of people making a play to go from how big they are now to how big this would warrant. So like there's a lot of talk about like regional craft breweries on this show and like how there's not a lot of space for them, and it's interesting to see like where would they plan to put all this beer, because all their beer right now goes to Chicago, to some in Wisconsin and Indiana. So I mean they're about to jump quite a number of orders of magnitude larger than what they're producing right now, and I don't know how much more of that can be soaked up in their current markets. But I mean it seems like this is the type of thing that most breweries were doing 5 years ago that were at their size, and so I
That's kind of what I'm wondering is
Yeah.
is now 2018 the right time for them to be doing this? Granted, this wouldn't be online for
Yeah.
let's call it 2 years, but
yeah.
right. I mean that's even further than so that's
Further
even
into
more
the
of a-
unknown.
Yeah.
I think we as Chicagoans, we kind of downplay the appeal of these types of places. Like living in Chicago, I can go to a million brew pubs and be happy and make a day of that. But like my friends back home in Kansas City, they have to travel to go to one place, and it's usually the one of three options is the best option.
What?
And-
Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, I think for people who don't live in Chicago, who live in the exurbs, suburbs, other small parts of the other states, they're going to travel for this, and I think it's going to be a great thing for them.
I don't think they're gonna have a problem with the own premise part of this. It's a beautiful place to go from the looks of it.
You're
but
talking about
I'm
this
talking about
big
their
new brew
expansion of
house,
production.
high end, top of the line German
Right.
brew house, which they're talking about in the in the article.
I mean,
I'm
don't-
guessing it'll be a Rolex because that's what they're brewing
Yeah.
at Great Central for War Pig. So Nick Floyd probably saw it and was like, "Ooh, I want."
I mean,
one."
those things are amazing. You get like 110% efficiency. It's crazy. But I don't know what brew house they'd be putting in. But the amount of
think of the dust.
yeah, I was about to say like I as much as anyone want there to be more and more dust.
They can
but,
dust the nation.
But I mean,
It's a dust.
but I don't want them to devalue my dust. That's why I'm naysaying.
Oh,
oh, it's going to wreck your economy.
But, yeah, it's gonna wreck my economy. But I mean, also, but if this had happened 5 years ago when they did this, like there wouldn't have been so many small to medium-sized breweries taking up space in people's minds and stomachs that there are now. People like make emotional attachments to breweries that are close to them that I don't know if they need to expand geographically. If like that we were the best brewery in the world from 2008 to 2014 is going to really carry them as much as it would have a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They've also, I mean, they started in '96, like right as like the worst time to open a brewery at the time. Now, a lot of breweries that opened that year succeeded and did really, really well. But it's interesting. I mean, they are outliers in the beer world in many ways. I mean, they have not gone to cans. They're still doing bottles. They're like the only brewery of that size who's been around for that long that I know who does that.
But the way that they're outliers is now how everyone is trying to make beer. Like
Explain.
the beers that they were making back when they were crazy outliers and they're making Gumball Head is now what every single brewery starts out making. So they still make fantastic beer, and I'm not knocking any of that. But like the outlierness of it is less and less, especially when there's 6,000 breweries. So the uniqueness of it and the thing that like made it like, oh, this is so different is now what everyone has not necessarily replicated, but imitated, I guess. And so I don't know if
I mean, they've kind of even gone harder in that direction. I mean, in
Everything they make is
6,
up
7 years ago, 8 years ago, they had their year rounds were Scotch ale a very hoppy. They called it a mild, but let's call it a hoppy pale, Alpha King, and
A Pilsner?
Gumball Head.
And didn't they make a Pilsner almost year round?
Not even that. This is pre that.
Oh, sure.
So then they had 12 seasonal bombers, including a dry Irish stout, an ESB, a barley wine, which some of these are just long gone.
And they bring them back occasionally.
Right.
They don't resonate anymore.
A Kolsch, a Saison, all that stuff. So they don't
Imagine a Kolsch in bombers.
A Hellas.
coming
They put out a
right now.
Hellas in a bomber.
right.
And, like selling it like a wide.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
They still do. They do a Hellas in bombers.
but,
Yeah.
I mean, and there's no hook to it. It's like it's just a good Kolsch in a bomber. Imagine
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
trying to make any sort of splash in the market now.
Right. And now their year-round 6-packs are, they still do the Scottish ale, but very infrequently. They do Zombie Dust. They still do Alpha King and Gumball Head. Those two have stuck around. The others are gone. And they've added Zombie Dust, Space Station Middle Finger, which is a double pale ale. They always kind of are weird with their beer namings.
So they converted Necron 99 from a bomber to a 6-pack,
Which
and
is
Laser Snake from a bomber to a 6-pack.
And Laser Snake is an IPA.
Necron 99 is an IPA as well.
It's like a darker IPA, though, isn't it?
It's like an experimental. It's like I don't
Right,
know. It's
but
it's
anyway.
a very, very, very hoppy amber.
Right. So it's like a little maltier
So it's
IPA,
an
an IPA, Zombie Dust, Gumball Head, Alpha King, and then they have also in 6-packs. Am I missing anything that might? Oh no, and then they have Yum Yum, which
Yeah,
is their
their
session
ale.
pale, and they have. I don't know. There might even be others, but I don't remember. I think that's probably it. My point is, hoppy pale ales, they are as heavy as anybody in hoppy pale ales, and their seasonals are diminished as well. They don't make the Black Sun dry Irish stout anymore. They don't make
I may live in a bubble, but they all sell incredibly well to this day.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
They are outliers that way. Their stuff, they're bombers of double IPA that have been around for 10 years. Dreadnought and Arctic Panzer and stuff like that still sell really well.
And people are genuinely excited about them.
Yeah, the weight of the Three Floyds name has meant like quality for such a long time that I don't see them branching out to be a big issue. I think that they'll probably find tons of places that will consume and turn over their beer fast enough to keep that quality high. And I don't see any distributor putting them to the bottom of their distribution list.
No, when they jump into a new market, it'll be a big, big deal.
Mayhem.
Do you think they'll maintain their price point in Chicago with this much beer? Because their price point is higher than almost anyone else doing 6-packs of bottles, isn't that?
Yes. But I think now their prices have come in line with how 4-pack pricing has kind of gone, I believe. But still, that doesn't really answer your question. Their prices have always been higher than everybody else, and they jumped up again maybe 3 years ago to, I think they're probably around $14 a 6-pack now. I certainly don't think they're going to go down. I think they might just delay in going up again, but who knows?
There's no reason for them to go down. People have been buying their beer at that price point for
pulling.
so long.
Yeah.
Even now that larger breweries are expanding and dropping their price point, I see absolutely no reason why they would.
That price point's a norm now, anyways.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
board.
They set the price point. So other people have been using them as sort of the benchmark. If they were to lower it just because there's more, I don't know, that doesn't really make too much sense to me.
And it probably isn't good for their brand,
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
lower their price.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be. I guess it'll be
know.
interesting to see what happens. The other crazy thing to think about is there any other brewery? By the time this expansion opens, they could very easily be 25 years old. They've been around for a long time. They've been around. This will be their 22nd year.
Mm-hmm.
And think about how they still have that kind of buzz around them. It might not be this raging thing where it's what everyone's all about.
Yeah, it's an untouchable buzz. It's great. It's
But
amazing.
20, I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So, I mean, they must be on to something.
I mean, I don't really see if they expand the restaurant and they expand. I mean, I guess they're probably turning people away from the tap room, maybe. But I don't see
probably.
like it. Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
on busy times.
I'm sure they are. So it'll be interesting to see if it is more of a destination or it just maintains or what. I've also seen so much. It's like a weird amount of flack coming up in Chicago against people opening up tap rooms lately, or not, or
People or breweries.
Brewery people.
Maybe this is
people.
your echo
Breweries are
chamber.
people.
Have
Breweries are
you been
people.
hearing it? Yeah.
Yeah, just generally in sort of the social media channels, just like another tap room, another tap room, another brewery opening up another tap room.
Have you noticed if it was your industry friends, non-industry friends, just casual beer drinkers who are, because that's a big difference. If it's
Sure.
Because I've heard it from people on the brewing side.
Interesting.
And also from people on the bar side.
Interesting.
Those are two places I've heard it from.
So
and
both
I think
sides.
it's because it's of that.
okay.
Because I think it's people see it as more competition and they're a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked it when we were the only tap room in town, and bars see it as great. Another
Why
another
are we
option.
pushing their product when they're pushing their product and competing against us? Kind
Often at a
of.
better price point.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they're doing that, and I don't see too much chatter around this project as being undercutting or taking away from bar owners. It just kind of seems like, I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Is there another bar in that industrial park that you can just go to?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Or even in there.
Exactly. Or just people who carry 3 Floyds.
I do have to mention that you're listening to 105.5 FM, Lumpin' Radio Chicago. But yeah, I think that they're kind of removed. They're a destination by necessity. They're pretty far away from their primary market. I would guess that Chicago and probably the north side of Chicago is where most of their beer is sold, and that's a 45-minute drive usually to get there. But back to what I was saying before, do you happen to know or have you noticed who is saying that, another tap room or this pushback?
Get out my list of names.
I think some of us probably saw several conversations happen in the last few days
Sure.
about people complaining about, not complaining necessarily,
No.
pointing out
Yeah.
the fact that
It's a
tap
trend.
rooms seem to be taking business away from regular bars and restaurants.
And I think they are. They undoubtedly are. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Tap rooms are very,
because
very popular.
if you
in the
were a
craft
beer
world.
drinker and you want to go out and have a craft beer, are you going to go to random bar or are you going to go straight to tap room of a brewery that you might like, or several?
Mm-hmm.
right, and have that like personalized. Well, not personalized, but that experience where you're getting it right from the source, and you kind of see what that brewery is all about. And I think you do have a different sort of connection to a single brewery by visiting the breweries and drinking there. And it's super profitable for the breweries, and I understand why they do it. And I think it's important for breweries, especially small breweries, to have tap rooms. Now, I will say that there's a distinct bubble. There's a distinct bubble for tap rooms. I think.
This is such a good segue.
Yeah, I would think that it's pretty much. If I had to guess, I would say it's either burst or will have burst by the end of this weekend, and that any tap rooms after that are pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah.
Ed, you just stopped in. Anything you want to talk about?
I was outside shoveling the snow, and I had my headphones on listening to you guys live on my transistor radio that I put my Walkman headphones on.
Yeah.
And I noticed you guys were talking about tap rooms and about how they're dead. And I'm like, this is great news.
Is that what we were saying?
Is that what? That's what I heard. Did you say like it's a bad thing?
No, we weren't saying that.
Oh,
We might have been
We're
saying
just
the
saying
opposite.
you're
I'm
immoral
not
if
sure.
you're opening a tap room because you're ruining local bars.
We're just
Oh,
saying
that's
Yeah.
what you're saying.
anyone
Yeah.
opening a tap room
Yeah.
right
The
now within this
upstanding,
month.
the upstanding
but
pillar of
A
a bar.
a tap room in the area might be cannibalizing from a bar in the area.
yeah.
Maybe.
Without a doubt.
Oh, totally. I think it's totally.
Whatever,
You're totally
it's another
right.
bar. Yeah.
Most tap rooms you should just consider being another bar for sure. Yeah.
But it's
And
a very, like, I would say they're almost like a very popular concept or a very popular type. Very
Yeah.
popular type of bar right now.
I don't know. I mean, we've been hoping it would be a popular type of bar concept for a while. You know, for someone who's been trying to open up a tap room for 17 years
Or was that you?
and has been on the cusp of the trends going on in the marketplace.
You were ahead of it. You were
Real-
just slow to execute.
17 years ago, we were like, America needs more tap rooms.
Own premise. That's going to be
Own
something
premise.
someone talks about in 16
Own
years.
premise.
was the term tap room something that?
Yeah. Owning
That-
Well, I mean,
premise.
something
That
I
you
invented.
invented?
I invented that, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
17
French,
years
right?
ago.
well, it's actually
Plenty.
French English,
Ah, got it.
Franglish.
It's like Creole, kind
Tap
of.
room, room de tap, chambre de tap room, room de tap room. But I thought one of the interesting things I did notice while I was shoveling the snow, the slush, is when you talked about the destination of Three Floyds, like in an industrial park in the middle of nowhere. I mean, part of the charm and the most amazing thing about Three Floyds was that you learned what Munster, Indiana was, right?
Yeah.
You got off a
Oh, is that how
highway.
you say that?
Moonstel
Munster,
is also French.
Indiana, is also
Indiana.
français. Mais,
Why did this start?
So, as K-Tronica knows, when you go to Munster, you take the highway or the low way,
A voyage.
and then you enter a street of indiscriminate amount of like guide wires, just look pure Midwestern nowhere land, right? You go through that, you see an interesting cocktail sign on that one bar. Remember that fancy little cocktail sign on that one corner bar? And you're like, wow, they've got some cool lounges here in Indiana. And then you maybe find the sign to the industrial park to Three Floyds. And then you get there and you go, whoa, that's it? And you get into the parking lot and you go into the spot and you're like, wow, this is it. This is the heart of hopped up mania beer. Mm-hmm. And that makes experience so amazing. So that fortress, that spaceship, that giant Death Star, beautiful architectural wonder they're going to put there will actually have more meaning, I think. It'll be a lot more exciting for
Sure.
a person to check out.
Yeah.
When you get to the back of the industrial park,
Yeah.
and you find that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys talked about this, but I thought it was going to be huge because they need the barrel storage space. Is that what you guys talked about?
No.
I mean, I'm presuming it's going to be a gigantic facility because of their distilling, their craft distilling. It's going to take up a larger portion of their sales in the future. Not a larger portion, but it'll grow, right?
I keep hearing about that.
Yeah, that system is pretty cool. I have no idea. Have you guys been there? Have you seen it?
No.
I don't get outside of Chicago much.
I haven't been there and looked at the distillery side of things in ever.
Like
so.
a year or so. I was there, and it's pretty amazing. I took a picture of it, and I think someone slapped my hands, and I deleted that photo. But it's a pretty beautiful machine. But I know that those guys have their own, I guess, carpenters building their barrels. They've been making barrels. They're making their own cooperage. I remember some of my friends who were crazy DIY barrel makers were involved. Coopers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most of that space is going to be used for that craft distilling. And, of course, the swimming pool for
Yes.
the upcoming
For
Beer
ducks.
Olympics that'll be hosted there in 2020.
I can't wait.
Yeah, the
Munster,
Beer Olympics.
Indiana.
Right?
Yes. That'd be great. Oh, the beer Olympics.
The Beer Olympics.
The Beer Olympics.
You thought they were going to get the Olympics.
the
Three
Beer Olympics.
Floyds will be held.
I didn't
the
think it was
Summer
a big
Olympics
deal
will be
until you
held.
said beer Olympics, and then
Then it made
It
sense.
got a lot bigger.
Then it was exciting.
A lot bigger of a deal.
I think it's about time we take a break, listen to some tunes, perhaps. Do you have to sit over here again, Matt, for this? Or is there more we're going to talk to you? Is there more you want to say, Kate?
Oh no.
I'm going to go get my dibs.
K-Tronic?
Chair. I'll be right back.
Is it Kate-Tronic or Kate-Tronic?
K-Tronica.
Kate-Tronica.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
For making that
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll be back after we listen to some music with my guests, Stephen Freshnut, Kate Tronica, Ed Marr.
It is French.
Is French. And Dusty S, I guess, would be his nickname. Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Talk to you soon. Goodbye. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by my guests, Matt Arata, Dusty Strong, Kate Tronica, Fresh, Edmar. I kind of felt like I was Alex Trebek giving the names of the different topics that we're going to be.
You look like Alec Trebek.
Yeah.
That suit that you're wearing right now?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful gray suit with
I
the
like
orange
it.
tie.
I like my version is Alec Trebek.
I like the mustache you grew over the break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I am
Really goes well
Alec
with the
Trebek.
Really goes
I
well
love
with the
it.
face tattoo.
Yeah.
Very Alex Trebek.
You
Face
actually
tattoos.
got rid of all the hair.
On my head. Yes,
On
I
your
did.
face.
I did. I got rid of all my hair. I got my hair cut, and he was like, "You want me to just take it off?" And I was like, "Yeah, take it off." So then he got naked and cut my hair.
Well, that's how you get your hair cut nowadays in Chicago, right? It's a new
Yeah, it was a
trend.
haircut.
It's classic.
Yeah, it was a haircut.
Nude cuts.
Chicago
It was a
style.
haircut.
$5.
Chicago cut. Yeah.
All of the hair, please take it off.
How do you? Yeah.
Chicago.
What's
What?
that?
We're just gonna say Chicago dog. All right. Okay.
Is that
All
the
right.
place where you get screamed at and insulted while your hair is being cut
Yeah.
by a naked person?
Yeah.
I don't
know
know.
it,
Pay
Ed.
extra for that for
You
being
know
yelled
it,
at.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
a
I was a
really
yeller.
nice-
I was a nude yeller once.
You can get one at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, it does go well with my face tattoo. Yeah, so let's talk about beer.
Something
for just
about
a
beer.
bit.
Let's stay on this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. Yes, that's good.
I mean, the tone of your voice, you're very on edge right now. I can tell. Not at all
It's
prim
very
and proper.
stressed, yes.
voice.
All right. Yes. Let's move on.
Okay.
There we go.
There you are.
How's that
Wonderful.
yeast shake?
Oh, yeah.
It's working.
I can
It's
tell you're
it's very
stone cold sober.
I've consumed a lot of dry yeast.
Have you
today on this
honestly?
show.
Have you drank any yet today?
Spoonfuls by the tablespoon. It's been about a quarter cup, and if you hydrated it, about 4 cups probably of hydrated, healthy yeast.
Eat some yeast.
Don't you just get a spoonful to every beer?
I usually what I do is just take about 2 spoonfuls, throw it back, and then I take a swig, like you're taking your medicine, and it works
Spoonful
every
of
time.
sugar. Yeah.
Yes, but spoonful of dry USO5 keeps the
Oh, it's a
medicine.
good brewer's yeast.
Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
brewer's yeast.
So when you eat yeast,
Yes.
are you trying to recreate the process of fermentation in your stomach?
Unclear.
What is
See, this is relative to another cook, Jim Cook, of
Boston Beer.
Boston, yeah.
He does that.
He does that. Yes, he was.
He ferments beer in his tummy.
Apparently, yeah. That he's such an expert, such a pro, that in order to stay sober, he.
But yeast doesn't
consume-
uptake alcohol.
There's a lot of
does it?
reasons that. No, there's a lot of.
Let's
reasons.
not bring science into this, Chris. Come on.
I mean, if you ate
A billionaire
Acetobacter,
does this.
Yeah.
Acetobacter would do it, right?
If you ate Acetobacter and then it didn't move out of your stomach for months, and then
I mean, you'd be literally then full of.
yes, you would
you'd
be
piss
sober
and
the
vinegar.
next day.
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
sober.
You would be though, because that's what would happen. I mean, but would it do it fast enough? How fast does
No.
that bacteria work?
It would work so fast that you'd probably be sober the next day.
I'm a little disappointed that you brought it, opened it up, and then just you're so wasteful. You didn't eat any of the. You didn't consume
yes,
any of the yeast.
I have been consuming it.
Oh, you have been?
Yes.
She
I'm
sprinkles
taking
it.
little nips of the yeast
Yeah.
Oh well,
here and there.
Dusty over here has been shaking his head vigorously.
What he
No,
does.
She hasn't had any of the yeast.
yeah.
He doesn't.
I
know.
thought you
He
just
doesn't
dusted
know.
the
Don't
rim
listen
of
to
the
him.
glass or the can.
Yeah, it's like a
like a
margarita.
margarita.
You just
Yeah.
dip it in dry yeast every
Yeah.
time you take a sip. It's great. Yeah.
Didn't-
Sometimes I put it on the back of my hand. First I look at it and put some dry yeast on the back
Yeah.
of my hand. take a lick and then take a swig of beer. It's
Well, a few years ago, I would just
cool.
cut it up on the table with the
I was
credit
going
card.
to say, you've got,
And just
you've got
snort it
a
with
long
like a-
pinky. You got
That's
a
the
yeast
Greg
nail.
Yeah, yeast nail.
Cook.
A yeast
Yeah.
nail. Just a little. Yeah, got it. All right,
Yeah.
so beer. Other than yeast, another ingredient in beer is hops. And I was talking with somebody the other day who's in the industry who was saying that hop contracts are just totally effed lately, and not for the reasons that they have kind of historically always been effed, in that you contract for 10 pounds and you get 1 pound, but kind of the other way around, where people are way over contracted on their hops. And for those of you who don't know, Mike, could you just explain hop contracts very briefly?
I mean,
I'm sorry, Dusty.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, you contract Citra hops, and you just kind of throw the rest in the garbage.
Right. And then you make dust.
Yeah, you make dust. I mean, we.
Don't you get them from Citralandia?
Yeah, Citralandia. I mean, you project out years in advance about what you think you're going to be using for hops, and then that actually forecasts to growers what they should grow. So over the last several years, people have been over contracting because you always kind of got cut. You always got cut by at least 30%.
So you'd ask for
yes, for
1,000 pounds because you knew you're only going to get 800
yeah.
pounds.
And so like they projected what they would grow out of that, and so there's a kind of a surplus of a lot of those hops, and you're required to take them. They're yours now. They're not the hop
But
growers.
the crazy thing is they're not required to give them to you.
Right. It's a very one-way street. Yeah.
It's a pretty,
So
it's a pretty
you would-
nice contract.
So you would ask for, X amount. You would get like 0.7x on your contract, then you'd actually receive 0.6x of whatever you actually had contracted.
Must be fun to kind of figure out how much beer you can make then.
It was really difficult for a while, and especially when you're in an industry where growth, not just for a single brew, but for the whole market, is like 15% every year, 50% for breweries, 100% for breweries. You're like, when you can't forecast that will slow down and still be optimistic about your brewery, so you're forecasting for a lot more hops than you actually will use, and also changing tastes will dictate what beers you make. And
that's kind of what I had been. Sorry,
these aren't just widgets where you can pull one hop out and put it in something else. Like it's a totally different animal. So these things are not interchangeable in ways that they are normally. They're not just like, and it's difficult to, if you're a big brewery, like a very, very large brewery, which we are not, but it's hard to move that volume of hops if you're over contracted. There's just aren't that many other people. It's like if you're trying to sell a $10 million home. There's only so many people who can buy a $10 million home.
Right.
So your
King
pool is
Kona.
smaller.
Yeah, King Kona and .com billionaires who are moving to New Zealand.
Well, we're not talking about coconuts.
Well, coconuts are a form of hop.
Is that why you dry cook?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
That makes a lot more sense now.
So what I had heard was that some of these larger national or regional breweries who were putting out year-round, like new year-round hop-forward beers that were initially very successful, but then because of consumer taste seemed to be very much about what's new. We talk here a lot about quote new, and it was a little bit about, all right, so we have to release new things because they pick up traction and then they kind of slow down. And some of these beers that we'd been doing so great with for only a couple years as year rounds now are way down because they're being cannibalized by our own by other brands that we've introduced. Now we're way over contracted for some of these beers. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but yeah, so we're contracting for beer X and then it's doing great, but now we put out beer Y and Z to kind of be, put a new beer on the market, and we have all these X beer hops.
Yeah, it's this weird, really weird thing. I mean, you look at like something like Firestone Walker where they had Pale 31, which is like one of my favorite beers, and they don't even make it anymore.
Right.
And that's not wholly dissimilar for something like Easy Jack, but like they moved into that, and like I'm sure that they're going to be doing something else. Like I don't like a brewery of that size. When you make a 2% change, that's like maybe our entire hop contract. So when you make an entire like move away from a brand, like those hop contracts are 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out. If you were an intelligent brewery about what you thought you were going to make, so it's people like you just pivot. Like, you can't just pivot when you have you only have one kind of chip. You have to make the certain circuit board.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about how if you do happen to have a big forward contract like that where you're stuck into this kind of hop and maybe the trend has moved away from what you were originally planning, how easy is it to come up with something new to use the same hop?
It depends on what your mix of production is. So if you're really heavy into one brand, then it's really difficult, especially if that has a hop that doesn't translate into other things. If you're less reliant on a single brand, then you can probably pivot a lot easier.
Yeah.
It depends on the way your brewery is structured. And I think you will see a lot of these larger, bigger breweries have a more difficult time pivoting away from things that are national brands for them. And you'll see a lot of these other smaller breweries that come up, be better able to be nimble. I think what was that? Was it Sierra Nevada that had like a beer that was exactly the same ingredients? It was like I was on a couple weeks ago where someone sent the same. It was like exactly the same hops, almost the same malts. Like it was things that.
Right. It was their new hazy beer was very, very similar to a different Sierra IPA that for tropical torpedo.
I think
the new hazy IPA.
You'll see a lot of change in technique and not a lot of change in raw ingredient, I would imagine, from those really big guys. So like the way that they use these things and like how the dosing rate, I guess you would put in it, to a certain extent, so have to be profitable for them. But like they made that one hazy, so that's a totally different beer now that they can put in their portfolio. But I don't know how much longer that.
And because of the hazy beers, you could just waste more hops. Just triple dry hop. Just throw more in there. You could use that contract.
Sure. I mean, if they ever want to charge $14 a 4-pack, or what do you charge $80 a 4-pack?
$18.
$18.
$18,000.
$18,000
coconut.
But you know the bigger side of the story is that the hop producers themselves have overproduced and thought they would sell more hops based on the trajectories of the marketplace and based on these orders, right?
So the overall market slowdown is affecting.
Yeah, the apocalypse is happening.
That's way upstream too. So you see these trends start upstream where people aren't using as many hops. It's like the people that project out hop growth are not silly. They're not unaware of what's happening.
Yeah.
So you see like that there probably isn't as meteoric of growth in those styles or for those breweries as you would have thought.
But for guys like us, that means that we might have a hop contract in 2021 at prices that are below what they are today.
I don't see the prices going down.
You don't think they're going to go down?
No, I don't.
What about
some of them have to go down?
How do you think this over-contracting is? Do you think that could potentially affect the market as well? Will the what do they call it? The spot market or the aftermarket for hops? Do you think that'll?
We just go to the parking lot of Brew and Grow and set up a little sign that says "Need hops."
Right,
Mars Brewing.
But do you think that could it be that people are selling hops in the secondary market for less than they bought it for?
Depends on the hop.
Yeah.
It totally depends on the hop. Yeah. You see some hops in those secondary markets that are just absurdly high. There's one that actually was like a trolling one that was like $50,000 for a pound of Galaxy.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
We bought it and we made.
Yeah,
no,
well, you made
really
50,000 Galaxy
but it was,
hop beer.
50,000 Galaxy hops. But no, those like people put those out there as like jokes about how absurd certain hops are versus other hops. But even hops that are very sought after, like they're just like people resell them.
You can't get Nelson Sauvin hops.
Well, there's certain ones that you just can't can't. That Galaxy, like there's certain ones you just can't find because they're not part of the same hop growing union as what you get in America. Those are all Southern Hemisphere hops, so they have an entire different industry producing them.
When I was interning for King Kona, he mentioned he was getting interested in cornering those Southern Hemisphere hop markets, and I said, why do that, man? You're the king of coconuts, and pretty soon people are going to just shave the coconut husks into beer, like you've been advocating for the last decade.
Is that what tropical means? When people are like, tropical. Oh, this smells tropical. It smells like coconut husks?
Yeah, tropical.
Juicy tropical.
Yeah. Basically shaved coconut, and it's now ground by hand.
How long ago were you
husks,
interning
not the
for
pulp
him?
In
was this when you were a child or younger, a young adult?
Much younger, like 34 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
He had his first coconut grove out by Key Largo, and I was there.
Montego.
It was a good time. A lot of margaritas. Oh,
A
the
lot of
music.
Beach Boys songs.
The jam bands back
Baby,
then
when
were
we go.
legit.
Yeah.
Not like this fake super jam band
Right.
craze we have today with, what's that band? Plish
Flish.
and
Yeah.
Howard Matthews.
Alive and Company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave
Totally
Cashew's
very
band.
authentic jam band culture, like Uncle Jake's Jug Band. Oh,
Right.
man. But I
Oh,
want
looky
to.
Mo.
I think with the apocalypse coming, though, despite what King Kona wants to do with the hop market, it will help small brewers out like us, like the super small guys like us. Will be able to purchase hops from their friends, or maybe a box falls off a truck, right?
Box has been falling off trucks for you guys for a while.
A very long time. Yeah. Well, that's why we have a fleet of trucks following those other trucks.
It's a Subaru.
Yeah. Well, it's a SUV.
But do you so you do think that there could be some positive outcomes for smaller breweries that these
Absolutely.
big guys are overcontracted?
Yeah, because people who have these
It seems
contracts.
these hops have to go somewhere.
Absolutely. It's
And
already
if everybody's overcontracted, that
not
means
everybody.
Well, if all the big guys are, that means there's only so many hops that the little guys can take.
Well, my other theory is that the big guys, like the super big guys, the Borgs, maybe even hyper contracted these hops to keep them off the marketplace.
That's probably true. But you have to remember, like, this is probably great short term for the next maybe 5 years. But if
Can't do it forever.
hops aren't a subsidized thing. So if you take farmland up to grow hops, and then the hop farmers aren't selling all their hops, then they're going to rip all that out and start growing corn again.
Yeah, or kale.
Or growing kale, yeah.
I mean, hops into
soybeans.
kale.
What's something that will actually
Yeah.
make their farm profitable.
It's a new
so
beer
it's
we're making,
scary
too.
it's scary if the big guys are way over contract. It's not good down the road for everyone.
And it doesn't make sense because the actual volume of beer being sold by the big guys is being reduced.
Well, hold on. But if they're buying it to keep it off the market, then it doesn't matter. They should just keep making more because they'll just keep buying it.
That's
They
not
don't-
a healthy business model, though. They're not going to keep doing that. And we're not talking
Right.
about Borg type places doing this. We're talking about very large craft breweries are probably the most likely to be over contracted.
The word
well,
Borg was
Borg gets
used.
thrown around over
Craft
there
Borg,
a lot.
you mean?
Yeah.
We got to differentiate big beer Borg and craft Borg.
Oh no,
Craft
no,
Borg.
we're not going to trickle
Mini
the
Borg.
Borg
Corks.
nomenclature down into large craft breweries. Oh boy,
Levi Korgmaster.
Krogs.
You're right.
Jeez.
Levi
it.
Krogmaster.
Okay.
But actually, I mean, the first time we ever got Citra hops was from Boston Beer Company because they were overcontracted. So like, this is not a new thing.
Right.
I thought Kate was going to say something.
No, it's okay. It's
She just wanted to
Those
reach.
flies, the yeast flies
Just
are
wanted
coming
me
out.
to not say something.
It was a
no.
fleeting bit that.
No.
that
Yeah, it was a fleeting bit. Mike and I are sharing a mic right now, so it's kind of hard to.
Who's Mike?
Strong.
Oh, sorry about that.
Strong. What is your name?
Mike
again?
Strong.
Dusty Strong.
Dusty Strong.
Dusty
I
Strong.
thought you were Dusty.
is Mike.
It's hard for me to jump in.
You're not
and
Dusty?
Give my
This is a Dusty impersonator?
quips.
Yeah. It's
Dusty.
Dusty.
He's in my gym class.
You're in a gym class.
Oh, it's Studio Q.
some pushback on the nom de beer. All right, I see. It's
Nom
getting a
de
little
beer.
sensitive.
What?
Who is this?
What else we got,
Yeah.
Chris?
Oh.
Yeah, thanks.
You got
Thanks,
a show
producer.
here?
I'm trying to. So something that we brought up last week when Mike and you were on the show. Was it last week? No, 2 weeks ago. And you were on last
Was
week.
I on
Ed.
last
Yeah,
week?
you're on pretty much every
Oh,
week at this
yeah.
point. Was beer pricing. I wanted to talk about it a little bit again because I did get a lot of feedback. A lot of people were very interested in that topic about
Me too.
yeah, about one the pricing. We were talking about the big guys kind of going the Krogs and the Borgs going kind of lower and pushing the
Yeah.
floor low, and also the tiny little guys
Just pushing it up.
pushing it up. And
Sure.
I mean, I wanted to see if you guys thought that there would be if we are anywhere close to a ceiling for what consumers will pay for
Nah.
high profile releases, as I called it. I wanted to see like what you thought about this, Fresh, since you're kind of in the trenches at the retail level quite a bit. I mean, do you think that we're anywhere close to a ceiling? or it can keep meaning
It'll keep going
it's going to keep going up.
I don't see people bat an eye if it's a product that they want. If it's a product they want and it's something that is exclusive, popular, or and it's a trend or flavor profile that is very hot.
And a limited quantity, right?
Sure. I mean, there's
Presumably.
lots of aspects that go into it, but they will pay more for that. If it's something that is
More than they already are.
more than they already are.
Because it's gone up a lot recently. $1 an ounce used to be when beer started hitting $1 an ounce on draft. That was kind of a big deal that consumers were making a big fuss over. That was kind of like a fairly irregular occurrence, a rare occurrence. Now
It is commonplace.
in Chicago. It's absolutely commonplace.
Absolutely. And especially for, I mean, I'm going to say it, like for a hazy IPA or for something like, or a barrel-aged stout, $1 an ounce or even sometimes more is...
Or an adjunct stout, no. But here's the thing. It's starting to drift into other styles, I think. So you have, pastry stouts are now getting up there in that price as well. At least for the little guys. These what I'm saying is it's these high profile releases is what I'm calling it. So they can be because of the style or whatever, but prices
I'm
are
seeing
going
the inverse
up.
on that for breweries that may not be making a truly like, not that they're not relevant, but that they're not making a hyped style or something that's extremely popular. They are lowering their prices to get the attention of the consumer as well.
The little guys are.
No, I'm saying like maybe not the littlest guys, but I mean some mid-tier craft breweries for sure have lowered their prices to be able to capture some of that back.
Are you talking about like someone the size of a Pipeworks or someone like a Revolution?
I'd say someone like a Revolution or a Surly.
Right, so bigger. Right. Those are pretty big players.
In
Those
the
are
grand
top
scheme of things,
50,
they're not the biggest though.
But they're top 50 craft breweries.
Sure.
And that's the other side of it. I think those guys are going more multi-pack, pushing prices low, maybe half barrels at lower prices, kind of competing with some of these crafty brands. I think that's going to personally continue. I am curious if the high watermark can go higher, because I think we're seeing higher price points for a larger swath of beers. I mean, there are beers now, like what was Rare? How much did Rare cost when it came out? It was $50?
I think it's important that it keeps. Yeah, I think it
Keeps going up?
Yeah, I think.
You think it's important?
I think it is good. I think
Why?
it's good. I do think it's good for beer to move away from commodity pricing. I do think it's good for beer, similar to spirits, to undergo a similar, super premium brand or echelon of products at the top. Whether or not that's just marketing because everyone's using the same like Breeze, malt, hops, whatever. I don't.
Why
see,
is it important?
Because you have small brewers who then that's their cachet. Like their ability is to make like actually like Goose Island Rare, not that rare. Like if you're going to talk about like what other brewers are making, like that is actually rare. So I think it's important to have that flexibility so that you're not rooted into a I mean wine does it, spirits does it.
That term super premium though is
it's fake. It doesn't mean anything.
But you're saying that's where you want beer to go?
I don't think that's where I want it to go.
You said it's important that it go there.
I think it's important that the option is there for small businesses to not feel tied down to simply commodity priced and competing for the bottom line.
I mean, I've seen it to the point where there's no rhyme or reason to it. Customers will ask how much a pack of beer costs. And if it's not in their expected range, they either think it's poor quality. So if it's under like $14, they're concerned.
Sure, but yeah, exactly. And then also like if you're gonna charge more for something, you're actually doing a service for the consumer in some ways because then they feel like they're buying something that's a higher quality. That is, I think that is a thing.
Such
I guarantee
marketing,
and then that will come back to
garbage.
You're hired.
Listen.
Yeah,
K-Tronica, you're hired.
Okay, I guarantee that's what Goose Island Rare was.
And then when
I know, but
That's
I'm
what it
not
was.
saying that's a good important
I'm not saying
thing.
that's what it is, but I think
And you think that's a service?
No, I don't. I'm saying that's
just
what they're.
said that.
Okay, I don't think that personally. I wouldn't think
K-Tronica
it
was
'cause I would
impersonating
be
a
like,
Borgmaster.
Yes, I'm impersonating. I'm saying I'm getting in the mind.
Super premium.
I'm branching out of my
Well, if you want to talk to Mr.
Seem
Super
to
Premium
move on.
about it,
Yeah.
we'll call him.
Yeah.
But the one thing I noticed that we brought up in the past, though, was the
I
fact.
don't think it is
Wait,
that.
hold
Mike,
on.
Sorry, Mike
we
is
got to
like-
get back onto this, Ed. We got to keep talking about this.
Say one more
There were
thing.
some bombs dropped right there.
I said I was here for the hot takes.
Yeah, no, I'm glad, and I'm honestly, Kate, I respect your opinions on this matter a ton, and I'm glad that you're saying this because I want to kind of dive into this a little bit because I tend to feel the opposite, but I'm open to being persuaded that or that there might be a middle ground. Fresh, you were going to say something.
Well, I'm just
though?
saying that that the brewers have to take care at the super premium pricing because it will come back to bite them if the product is not truly super premium. Customers will only pay that once, sometimes twice,
Sure.
and then they've completely written you off. And so,
to me, super premium is at this point almost synonymous with.
It's a fake word. It's a fake term. It was brought in from the spirits industry, from like Sidney Frank Grey Goose stuff. Like,
Yeah, but
it's fake.
But it might be a good product, but it's a way to charge more money. I mean, I think there's been studies where you take a spirit that was doing okay, you rebrand it and charge more for it, and it does amazing. So I don't want that to happen personally.
I think this is the most dangerous place in craft beer right now. I think a lot of things that have premium pricing are not premium products. They're things that are hot right now, and they are priced because they can get that. And that is a dangerous way to price things, especially in an industry where taste moves so quickly. And you are going to drive people who like the consumer that spends that money on beer at the very, very high end is not doing it because they love beer. They're doing it because they love buying things that are the high end. But that consumer moves very quickly away from beer into wine and back into spirits if they don't like what they're getting.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's like
That's
I'm,
not.
what I'm
No,
saying.
I'm saying that like what
They're sharing a mic.
yeah.
That is not.
I personally don't think it's a good idea, but I do think that the option to have flexibility to move away and
From
above
commodity
pricing is important for small brewers. So like Ed, I mean, are you guys strictly rooted in commodity pricing, or are you like, no, you're not?
Well, when you mentioned some of like these trends, like the hazy beers and stuff, as like people falsely
I
charging
don't
more
think
money.
hazy beers are in this category.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say like those
they
are
are.
the most expensive beers we make.
No, they're not.
They're obscenely expensive.
to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to produce. It's really insane.
Right. So that actually is in line with
Cost-
commodity pricing.
it
That
co-
makes sense to charge more for that.
Yeah, and I think
I'm
for
not- I'm sorry.
Ed and Ed, you always talk about how you're the most inefficient brewery in the world. You had the
Yeah.
500 mil.
Yeah,
but
true.
No, he does.
And
you
I
say
was
it all the
hoping
time.
this conversation would turn to
But that
how
is
are
then
you going to
commodity
make us
pricing in a
efficient? How are you going to help us make a beer?
We can do that.
I would like more help. I don't. We need to figure that out.
I think commodity pricing, the way I think of it,
is about driving prices down.
or no. I think it's about
No.
it's based on the cost to make is
Yes.
what the cost to the
And that can be
consumer,
flexible.
and that I think is kind of what you're doing, Ed. I mean, you would put your prices lower if you could afford to. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Now,
what you tell me.
Thank
anyway.
you for explaining it to me that way, because I've been using that phrase incorrectly in my own mind for a long time. So once again, the show has
We're all
taught me something about this business. So thank you, Chris.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of different considerations.
Surprised during your internship with
With
a
Conan.
world-renowned beer or marketer and salesman, he didn't mention that to you, especially when he's trying to corner commodity markets.
Well, that's when he first started Kona Brewing, and it was new.
You'll
it was-
get to that
What
tomorrow,
about those
kid.
super
Yeah.
premium coconuts,
yeah.
though, the ones from the top of the tree?
Exactly.
Hard to get to.
Is that where they come
See?
from?
Yeah.
It's an
Now
extra
climb up and get me
extra
one.
5 feet to climb. I had to do that for years. But the thing that I thought was raising these prices were the fact that the breweries themselves who made their special releases were also concerned with the aftermarket, secondary market pricing of these beers. So I
think
thought
there's some of that.
Some of that's happening as well. So if you're buying it on premise at like a brewery like I'm not sure if Chester King's doing this, but I'm sure that
Hill Farmstead is famously kind of
they're helpful. Okay, so I didn't know
Hill
that.
Farmstead
Consumption
pricing their
on-
beer because of
no, they're not
famously
doing
you
it that
have
way.
to-
You have to consume it on premise so people aren't going, or they keep track of who you are, and they'll track a bottle back to you.
RFD chips in each bottle.
Yes,
That's awesome.
in your gullet.
Maybe they're the Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess what I was saying is that there's
You love super premium.
I do not.
and
I
it's
do not.
important
And I would
good.
not buy it. And I would be educated enough not to buy it because I'm not going to a store just looking at things being like, I wonder what's good, what is the best thing that I could bring to this party to impress my friends. This one's expensive. Okay, this one
Note
might
to
be
self,
good. Also, I don't have that
bring-
kind of money.
invite you
Yeah,
to a
exactly.
party.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
but
please.
some people do, and that's how they shop. For
But
beer.
some people, that's how they shop for things.
it's
When I
easy to
shop
take
for
advantage of
wine,
that.
I have to say, now that I have a wonderful new wine app that I love so much that I talk about all the time.
What app is that?
Vivino.
Oh,
God
that-
damn, that
Hey,
app is good.
But you just brought up a good topic about wine.
Yeah, so when
I
I
mean-
shop for wine, I look at a wine shelf and I'm like, all right, this one's $8. I can't bring this one. This one's in a box. I can't bring that one. Like, all right, this one's like, it's
A decent rosé for $15.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like this is going to be socially
but
acceptable.
why? But
for
why
me to
can't
bring.
beer be like that? Why? I thought one of the purposes of craft beer was to kind of elevate the beer, the diversity of style, the experimentation
It is
to the
but-
same level of a wine consumer. In fact,
hold on. But there's good things and bad things about wine, and I would say that is maybe not one of the ideal things.
Right.
Is that it's completely separated from the process at times to make, and there's some people. I mean, some of it is just based on what they can get for it. I mean, my family has a tiny little plot of land in Burgundy, so therefore we are rich. I mean, that's just. I mean, well, some of them are, but
you are growing wine as well as running a premier
I
bar
was speaking
and
as
Quinn is
it's another
Quinn is
Borg.
a French name.
right.
Queen.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's
Quinn.
necessarily a good thing. I don't think that's possible for. I think there's many
No, I
reasons
mean,
that it's not entirely possible.
Extrapolate
for
that
beer
out to
get
where
there.
it is now in the wine world, and it's atrocious. It's not something that I think that beer people should want to be a part of.
No, I don't.
That like the right. So I don't think that once you divorce yourself completely from saying the value is because this is hard to get, this is rare, and it's because we say it's valuable, you completely float off into another world where it's a totally separate thing than what we have right now.
Bitcoin category.
Bitcoin's still going up, right? I'm crushing it. But I don't think
Kind of
that
recovered
I don't
this
think
week.
that's a good place for beer to go. I think it's a good place for a handful of breweries to go, but it will ruin a lot of things. And the things that are floating in there right now, I don't think are going to be like the basket that's full of those things. I don't think it's beneficial to the craft brewing, actual craft brewing as a whole. I think it's actually a dangerous place for the pricing of those things to go.
And it's interesting. I think for the little guys, if they want to stay small, make a certain amount, and kind of have a good living for them and their employees, I think that I don't know. I mean, maybe that is getting away from strict commodity pricing, but it's also not make more and charge more and take advantage of. I don't know. I think there's everything is gray. Everything is kind of can be used as, on either side of the argument. But I think it's kind of one of those things, like we said 2 weeks ago. It's like, pornography. You know it when you see it. And when I get my haircut, I don't see it. That's just, it's a very natural thing.
Wait,
What are they cutting?
Anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Going back to the
Chicago cut.
dogs.
Chicago cut.
Hey, this conversation's reminding me of some like legendary tales I heard while learning about the industry and trying to get involved in the industry. One guy, I'm so sorry I forgot John's last name, mentioned to me that when they were schlepping Three Floyds beer in the 90s, they were going door to door. Their sales weren't doing too great in the stores, and they were trying to figure out a way to help drive more sales. And when they decided to raise the case price and increase the price of those 6-packs, they started selling more, right? And I'm not sure if you could do that today or what that story is about, but the reality is that perception and value to the consumer is what led to people actually purchasing that craft beer they've never seen before, and they never wanted to try this type of stuff because it's not Miller, Bud, or whatever, or Hams. So there's something to be said about that perception of value of the beer. And you're arguing that it's going up and up and up, while I'm arguing it's going down and down and down.
I think it's actually doing both.
I think exactly. I think it's important. I guess my overall point is that I don't think that there's a general run to the bottom line. I don't think every brewery should be trying to make cheaper beer. I don't think that just because Three Floyds opens up a larger facility, they need to make their beer cheaper. I think that value is definitely tied in with the cost of something. So I'm not saying that we need to, create this other echelon of beers or this like faux super premium and just price it, and that's the only difference. But I do think that we do need to consider when we are pricing beers that just, it is tied together. It's tied.
And I want to say, too, that the prices are going to go up on a lot of small breweries because most breweries don't have access to the distribution that exists today in the larger kind of beer, whatever, Bud or Miller-dominated houses.
Think that these beers that are going up and up and up are part of this. Go on, finish.
I don't know what beers you're talking about then, because in my opinion, like the reason why some beers are becoming more expensive is because they have to use brokers to distribute them to distributors. It's harder for a brewery to get a relationship with a distributor.
I don't think that's what's happening in the super premium pricing, though.
No,
these things that are like $25 to $32 a bottle are almost never from people who are
from tap rooms direct to customers.
Or Goose Island.
Or Goose
Island.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean,
I'm sorry. Maybe I should go back and put the dibs chair out back at my parking spot. Because I'm misunderstanding the argument. I'm not sure where this pricing is coming from. I don't know where you're seeing it.
I mean, I think you're seeing a lot of like
bombers, 750s for $25
for more at retail, and it's not things that took a long time to make. It's not things that were difficult to make. It's
Can you please name something or styles or
no? I'm not.
Is it local or regional jams?
Both. Everything.
Yeah.
It's a general thing. I don't
$25
Yeah.
For what? For like a awesome
but
IPA?
You know what? Let's also
Lager.
be fair. Let's also
For
be
a
fair.
lager?
This is
No,
a very
no.
small, a very small
Right, but
amount of beer.
But this is where
overall.
the people who are stepping their feet into the super premium area for the first time, other than things that were like Cantillon or things that were legitimately 3 years to make, that were very in limited
and
supply
didn't cost
because
anywhere
they
near that
couldn't make.
amount. A long
I mean,
time
they're
ago.
like $28 a bottle now or so,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But like
yeah.
these same beers take maybe 3 weeks to make. They're not as complex. They're not nearly. They shouldn't be as valuable. So to push those things in the same echelon as that is actually, I think, is a detrimental.
Can you squash something too about ingredient costs and how it affects?
I don't know if I'm allowed to do that.
But bump.
Oh no, you can't. Okay. All right.
Well, wait a minute.
Fine.
Let's also talk about Cantillon. We value that as like, oh, it's justified for $25 a bottle.
Yeah.
Where you and I both know you get it for €2 if you're in Holland or Belgium,
Sure.
right?
Maybe
So
a
it's
little more
shipped,
now, but yeah.
whatever. But the €90 I remember for buying like all these bottles. So it doesn't cost them a lot to make that either, except it sits in those barrels. So there's a perception of super premium going on with Cantillon as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then of course all the middlemen adding their costs to get it over here.
I
That's why it goes up.
guess it's an idea of like where should you put value.
Right. We'll have to leave it there with a question. Where should you put value?
Ed wants to keep going, and it's his station.
We'll have to go off air then. I mean,
let's keep going off here.
keep going off
By
air.
the dibs chair. I'll put out a whole table
Beer
and
Temple
4
after
chairs.
Yes.
How about a radio station, Ed? A Dibs radio station.
Yeah, Dibs Radio.
I wanted to thank my guests. I'll start with the uninvited guests, Ed Marr and Dusty Strong.
Thank you.
And then the invited guests, Stephen Freshnut, Kate Brankin, a.k.a. Kate Tronica, and Fresh, and Matt Arata. Matt, DJ Matt Arata, I guess you are. Do you have any other nicknames that would be?
I don't have
Coconut
any
Porter?
nicknames.
I don't have any.
Mr.
Okay.
Porter.
Mr. Porter. Coco Porter.
CP.
I am Chris Quinn. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. But until then, so long, and hey, leave a review or something. Bye.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again, 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 again.
This is WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM Lumpin' Radio.
Thank you.